Yes, hello and welcome back. We are here again, Celtic World live stream number 3. And would you believe it? There's 4 people and we're all pretty clear. There's no lag and I think we can hear everyone.
Yes,
So that's
good
pretty
morning.
exciting.
Woo!
All right, so let us have a look at who's with us this week. If we want to go round, we'll start with David. David, you want to tell us where you're from and where you are?
Yep. I'm David. I'm based in Kuala Lumpur and I run the Kuala Lumpur CSC.
And in case anyone doesn't know, this is where Kuala Lumpur is. You can see it in the middle of the screen, capital of Malaysia. I'm also in Malaysia. You see the island to the east of that, the 3rd biggest island in the world. That's Borneo. And I'm in the northernmost state of Borneo, which is Sabah. Working our way around, Kaiser. Oh, no, sorry, Dano. Dano, tell us where you're from and where you are.
I'm originally from the Midwest in Chicago in the U.S., and I'm currently based in Gwangju in South Korea, which is the 5th largest city in the Republic of Korea. And I'm based here doing radio nightly, music radio show. And
you do a radio show in Korea. What sort of music?
All types. I cover new music on Monday. I cover new indie and more underground stuff on Tuesday. Wednesday, we do some travel show. So we go to a different place, like a country or a big city in a major country every week. And then Thursday is funk and soul first hour, rock in the second hour. I have a guest for the rock segment. And Friday is like artist interviews and theme type of shows, like what's going on, that type of stuff. So it kind of covers a wide spectrum.
Broad spectrum.
Show.
Well, there might be some musical treats for you in this stream. So
look forward to hearing
your response to that.
Yeah.
And so we've got Malaysia 1 and 2 and Korea. And what glamorous part of the world are you in, Kaiser?
I'm actually from Ibrox in Scotland. So the Den of Mordor, right next to Ibrox Stadium. In the shadow of evil, I dwell. Good morning, legends.
Morning.
Well, good evening from us.
Well, good evening.
Just in case anyone doesn't know, there's a little place called Glasgow.
In the heartland.
Where I'm from is pretty much in that picture as well. The coast of Northern Ireland there. I don't know if you can see it, but it says something like an area of outstanding natural beauty, the Glens of Antrim. Okay. All right, gentlemen. So that's where we are all from and where we're all at. So what we're going to talk about? Well, we've had our first fixture. So we're going to run around the room and we're going to talk about our feedback from the game itself. Now, we'll throw this over to David first of all, but I will introduce it by saying my view on the performance is much like my view on the TIFO. Not great. Some elements worked, some elements didn't. And I'm expecting to see better as the season progresses. And ultimately, any concerns I have are limited since we appear to be well ahead of the competition. David, tell us about your views on the game. More positives than negatives?
Definitely. I was very happy with the game. We had a couple of new members as well, so that was fantastic in Kuala Lumpur. So if you need to find us in Sebastian's Bar, anybody watching, come through, visit, and come and find us. So great having new members and visitors, and I think it was overall a very positive start. Like you, I think there are definitely areas of immediate improvement required. Goalie for the start. Let's just start there. Put Kyogo in there if you don't mind. I don't care, anybody. Just get someone in there. If having a good personality gets you that kind of fee for signing with Celtic, then I'm there tomorrow, because that's just the. We'll talk about it. I want to talk about it because I did some digging into these stats and stuff like that. So I think there's something to talk about there. Cameron Carter-Vickers being back is fantastic. Johnston, we need him back sorely. Naroki, I thought, came in really well, and that's probably great because Starfelt looks as if his heart is literally somewhere else. Turnbull, fantastic. That was great, although I did think he should have done better with that ball from Kyogo. Could have gone in, but never mind. Overall, obviously, man of the match. Thought it was interesting, the wee conversation with Matt O'Reilly afterwards, where he said it was a terrible time for last year. It wasn't getting game time. I think that was to Ange. But I think there's a lot of positives right across. My guy, I don't think was properly in the game, but he went to the very end. Kyogo was just a handful. He was quiet the first half, but he just came alive, and he was just too much for anybody to deal with on that match. So lots from me, positive, but pretty clear what it is that we need to do defensively.
Speaking of defensively, one incident of note is the question: should they have had a penalty? What about you, Dano? What was your take on that? If that guy had gone down quicker after tangling slightly with Joe Hart, who was in a panic,
Yeah,
could that have been a penalty against us?
I think it could have been. I think there was definite contact there. I think the ref and the guys in the VAR booth just decided, well, it's not enough to warrant a penalty. It could have gone either way, though. Like, to be honest, from my side, looking at it, and there is a little bit of contact. Now, is that enough to knock him over? I mean, you've got to be a little bit skeptical about that. But yeah, I didn't think it warranted a penalty. Obviously, all of us are biased, but it could have gone either way, to be totally honest.
I mean, there's an art to going over. Some players do it well, and you can't have any complaints in that scenario where there's any sort of legs between legs and someone goes over.
Yeah, and Hart would have deserved it. Like, let's face it. I mean, his performance was.
I think
really
if he'd gone down earlier, he stayed up, right? He stayed up
and
and kind of fell later.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it could have gone either way. It put us in a very risky moment right there. As opposed to the rest of the defense, I mean, even Ralston, who I thought wasn't that good, was at least passable. I thought Nawrocki was great. Like, he had a good game. Cameron Carter-Vickers played pretty well. The glaring need at goalkeeper and Joe Hart kind of being like a middle-aged guy who thinks he's still got it, but clearly doesn't type of thing is obvious right now. I love the guy. He's been amazing for us, but yeah, I think it's time to try and get somebody.
Yeah, Kaiser, the calls for Joe Hart's head on a silver platter seem to be rising across the board recently.
Yes,
and I think it's been something that we've all been aware of. Is, you know, he's not getting any younger, and he does have failings. Are you on that ship of it's time to get a new number one?
I am firmly on the ship of it's time for a new goalkeeping option. I believe Brendan has explored the goalkeeping options by, I think it speaks volumes when during the testimonial match, Bain actually looked like the best option, playing the ball with his feet and controlling the ball, passing out from the back, breaking that offensive press. Joe coming back in, really for me, right, I'm a big fan of Joe Hart, and I did really think when he signed for Celtic, he was a strong, resolute force that we needed to really give us rigidity at the back. But he seems to be faltering, and the more it goes on, the more he falters. And I did think the time that Joe Hart spent on the bench down south, not getting the game for squads, would be our benefit. That time that he spent off park would be our gain. So I'm not as quick to just instantly dismiss him and instantly be calling for his head. But definitely, especially with the thought of European football looming, whenever we've done well in Europe, we've had a really strong force in goals. So really looking at our goalkeeping options is a must. And that's one thing that I definitely took from the game, especially when Joe, as you says there, when tangled for the penalty, he was placed under pressure, perhaps with a bit of a hard pass back to take for a goalkeeper, but he could have chested it down in the opposite direction, but he chested it into the direction of the attacking player and kind of brought that challenge for the ball upon himself. And more frequently than not, when you present a referee or a VAR team in Scotland with a decision to make, it's not going to be in our favour. So I was surprised that it was in our favour.
Yeah. I think he should have gone with his head, should he not? Just headed that away. Was that not the thing to do?
He
As for
should have.
VAR,
Yeah.
Kaiser, you'll know because you used to watch, or you saw me on Celtic Down Under last season.
Yes.
And we were talking a lot about how VAR was horrific for Celtic for maybe the first 2/3 of the season. But for the last third of the season, it was either neutral or we got the rub of the green, I would say. I mean, the fact that, the sheet that we were keeping, the score we were keeping of all these horrific VAR decisions that we were getting, suddenly there was nothing to add to that for the last third of the season. And now we've started this season getting the rub of the green again. Do you think Celtic fans are going to get upset if they can't complain about VAR?
Well, I think what tends to happen when this new technology was implemented into Scotland, right, VAR technology, the technology seems to be very proficient. However, there's a human element that sits behind the technology. And usually in the first course of action, when, as you've seen for the start of the season, where VAR seemed to be very much against us, you get your time where it persecutes you, and then you get your time of overcorrection. And that's what seemed to happen. We had that time where it persecuted us, and they really put us to the sword with VAR, really trying to make a difference. But when VAR actually started to work for us, was actually in a time where it didn't matter because our main opposition had started to falter and fall behind. And regardless of how many penalties they were awarded a game and how many penalties they were awarded throughout the season without conceding any, it was really irrelevant. So it's irrelevant to side with us at that point, or irrelevant for us to get the rub of the green. But that is certainly what happened, Gav. You're spot on.
It was irrelevant at the very end of the season, but during the run-in, when it still mattered, things kind of went our way. I don't think we should ignore that completely. All right, what about performances of note? We'll start with Dano on this one. Kyogo playing less as just the tip of the spear and appearing more as a striker capable of some exquisite link-up play. What did you make of that?
I've really noticed that since O's second half performance against Bilbao, against Sporting Club, kind of coming up short and playing in almost like a advanced roaming playmaker, a false nine type of situation. I've loved the look of how that has been working with the rest of the offensive system. Kyogo and O have looked really good in that role. And I think it's like the main tactical tweak I've noticed from Rodgers that has really impressed me. And yeah, I loved Kyogo. Yeah. Because you're only used to just seeing him one touch and then a goal, right? Exactly. To see him actually, taking care of the ball and, linking up with the midfielders and all that type of stuff and being kind of an important cog in the build-up play is really a different thing to see.
How do you think that's going to impact the other attacking players that Brendan chooses?
I think they're all going to be kind of playing in that role. I think O looked really comfortable, remarkably so, against Bilbao. We'll see if that kind of continues. But I think that's kind of how he wants this team to play in the attack, and I think it's a really good idea, actually. I really like that kind of false nine role and having them being involved in the build-up play and coming short. I think that's really good.
David, are you not going to miss all the little low-pinged crosses that Kyogo gets on the end of and scores? Or is that too one-dimensional?
I don't think they've gone away. I think that's right. I think we've seen a lot more of his dimension to his play. I think what he's been instructed to do worked incredibly well. I think he was an absolute handful. 1 minute before he scored, I said, he's been quiet. I turned to one of the guys next to me and said just that, and he comes out of nowhere and just gets onto that. His layoff, his positional play, you looked when he was offside and he held himself back, understanding the run of play, masterful stuff. I thought it was tremendous, and I do not think for 1 minute. I think we've seen Maida as well in previous games coming into that true striker position as well, rather than just that workhorse. So I think we're seeing more dimensions. I think we've seen it from Turnbull. Guys are getting a chance to come in and actually prove themselves. I think it's competition for places that's going to be the issue. in some respects. I think there's clear deficiencies, and we know where those are. But in terms of positives, until I think O could play that role of a John Hartson, that big, sturdy guy who can hold the ball up, lay it off to other players, and create space. I don't think we've seen the best of O yet. And there's a few other players also that I still don't think we've had an opportunity to see. So I think we're seeing more out of each players. I think there's an energy of the players as well in terms of team spirit that I think was perhaps suppressed under Ange. I'm not going to go on an Ange hate, but I think he didn't turn up to training, and I think Rodgers does, and I think that's quite evident in the way you see the players reacting. I think that is what we're seeing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of people are talking about how maybe Rodgers is going to play Maeda as a striker, and maybe David Turnbull is going to get a run in the team. And I wonder, is that really happening? Or are these sort of changes just happening in pre-season and the early part of the season just because of other injuries? Kaiser, Kyogo wasn't available when Maeda first played as a striker under Rodgers centrally.
Mm-hmm.
And Hatate's been out of form. And is it not just a case of saying, all right, well, you're out of form, so we're not going to play you. We're going to look for other alternatives. And everyone's reading too much into it.
I think with what we've seen, right, with the striking options and how they've been presented, for me, O dropping deep, picking up the ball and really showing a different side to his game, becoming a supplier and allowing the midfield to run beyond, and Kyogo also doing the same, it's just absolutely fantastic. It shows a diversity to our attacking play that we did not see under the previous manager. It was very much Kyogo the tip of the spear and staying up front, and his movement and ability has always been there for everyone to see. And I also feel that when we were presented with Maeda going through the middle, that was a real option. Say, like playing in Europe, not being the team that's always on the front foot. As you know, in Scotland, Celtic very much are the dominant force domestically. So we're always on the front foot, and most teams will tend to park the bus and sit back and be defensive. And it's very much looks like defence against attack. But under a European circumstances, then those teams are going to push on and push forward. And Maeda's pace through the middle as a direct striker is a real option. So taking a look at just really Brendan Rodgers showing his guile and his ability as an elite level manager to assess players on an individual basis for their qualities and abilities, and also bring forth other qualities and abilities that perhaps as fans we did not see, but he's certainly seen in training and he's allowing to come to the forefront. I think it was fantastic. I think their striking play, attacking play was just absolutely phenomenal. And of course, giving Ross County their credit, first 15, 16 minutes of the game, they came out to play football and were very much in the game. We were a bit after a carnival atmosphere at the start of the game, right? Just that first game being back at Paradise, being back in the stadium was fantastic. And the kick-off of the game, I'd say we started very slowly, but firmly marched into the game as the game progressed and started thinking, how is this going to finish? We could have scored 7, 8 goals. It could have been a really high-scoring game due to the forward play, the beyond running of the midfield. I think David Turnbull as well, for someone who didn't really feature that much under Ange, he was certainly a shining light before Ange, and he certainly has ability. I mean, his prowess in striking the ball and shooting from outside the box is always going to be a threat. And he does seem to be kind of a cavalier player, a luxury player, because where he lacks in work rate of Hatate and maybe other midfielders, he certainly makes up for it in other areas. And I do think that Hatate, well, I wouldn't say he's off form. I would just say he hasn't found his form yet. Or he hasn't found the kind of form that we know he can find. Still an absolute quality player.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here, speaking of quality players, we're going to have a little musical break, and I'm going to give David, because David's our special guest, the choice between 2 alternatives. One is a musical tribute to Carl Starfelt, who it sounds like maybe on his way out.
Mm.
And the other is an opportunity to wallow in the pain that's being felt by our nearest rivals. So Starfelt or Michael Beale, the choice is yours, David.
I think Starfelt already won a prize. Did you know about that? That
Just
last
sent
year.
it. Yeah.
So I think we'll go for wallow in the pain. I'm still enjoying that this
Yes.
week. For that.
Yeah, I mean, is that even a choice, really? Like, I mean,
Let's revel
No,
in the
okay.
pain.
Okay.
Let's have
Well,
a little
Starfelt,
again.
we can leave Starfelt till Thursday because presumably by then the sale will be announced.
yeah.
All right. So this is a little, well, it's not exactly a tribute, more of a treatise on the current manager of our rivals, given the events of the weekend.
Oh, Gravy got some set.
I was happy in the shade of Stephen Gerrard, but heaven knows I'm miserable now. I was looking for a job and then I found a job, and heaven knows I'm miserable now. Naughty and Beale I miss. Oh, these EastEnders make me sick. Fake it till I make it and project I'm God. Now they all can see I'm just a fraud. I was happy there with Les down at QPR, but the Servco job's a step too far. Signing total duds, teenage CEO, I should have stuck to Lane Combs. It's no good how my mole and stomach both protrude. I just don't look the part, mounting evidence. I'm a mortar mouth with no substance.
Who is that?
Lovely.
Who is Gavin? Who is that
That
world
goes
class
as a
singer
single.
you have working?
Yes,
now?
was that Michael-
Just
was
a
that Michael
musician
Cooper?
friend of mine.
Yeah. Wow. Yes.
But that was Cabaret Buble. That was fantastic.
My only
Well, that-
offence is that it's what we went from one of my favourite bands getting that song.
Well, I tell you, there's quite a few. There's quite a few Smiths ones in the library.
I love
Yeah.
the visual representation of your Sevco beginner kit with the set of works and stuff, the spoon for burning. It was all there. It was all evident. Absolutely fantastic.
What would
And
you call
that-
it? I think it got cut off right before the music started. Kaiser, what'd you call him? Old Gravy Gut himself?
Yeah, Gravy Guts, the Gravy Guzzler.
It's quite funny, isn't it, that we're all now talking about how our manager looks because we've got a trim, handsome, manager with good teeth
Yes.
and a good physique. Whereas last year we didn't go in for all that kind of nonsense.
One of the
No.
beautiful people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
have-
now
we
we
have-
get now we get the fit manager plus we get to bump him every game too. I mean, it's just an
The
extra thing
problem
to
for
throw in.
me is the serious point behind all of this is they might have realised now that he's a fraud. And I don't want them to. I want them to imagine that he's still this mastermind who was behind Stephen Gerrard and it was all him. I don't want them to find out. It's too early in the season.
Yeah.
It's
past
all
Christmas,
crumbling too
please.
quickly. Yeah.
It's too quick. It's not.
Yeah.
We need it. It's like the gift needs to keep giving.
Yeah,
There's our very first comment that we're showing up from Den Boy. Wallow, wallow.
Yeah.
I'm doing just that.
Wallow. Welcome in, Den. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, I want to ask a question then. Seriously, how long do you think he's going to hang around? Because think it does matter to us because I like the painful kind of drag out of a season, right? I love that part of it. And, you know, I need them around for a while, you know, in any shape or form that they come in, any version of themselves. Just like it that they're there.
Well, as we know, every season on season, Sevco are firmly pre-season champions, and they sign world-class players.
World-class
going to
players.
come in and destroy us. Yeah, they're going to destroy us, and we are weaker and they are stronger. It's like Matilda. I'm big and you're small. They just continue to tell themselves lies, fueled on delusional and broken dreams. I would love to see it drag out as long as possible, because I do feel that Michael Beale is, and I'm rhyming now, Gav, you've got me rhyming. I'm like Dr. Zeus. You know what I mean? I do feel that Beale will be tactically found out. Tailoring his team to a manager in the version of Ange Postecoglou, who played one way. Plan A, Plan B is do Plan A better. Then we were never tactically malleable the way Brendan Rodgers is. So I do think he will be found out. Of course, the longer it takes.
Let me ask you another question. I want to ask you a Celtic question then on the back of that. Do you think, right, because there's been a bit of chat about maybe we've been underwhelmed with the signings that we've made pre-season, etc. There's still some time to go. I don't know how long we've got left, 2 weeks now of signing window. Do you think, therefore, that Brendan Rodgers, because I think the battles between him and Lowell are put to rest, he's allowed to spend money, he gets to select all the rest of it, maybe within certain criteria. Do you think he is therefore recognises what he sees across the other part of the city and has then said, I'm not buying for the Scottish Premiership, I'm buying for Europe? And it may be that we're waiting, that there might be more selection going into a longer term, because he doesn't seem to be in a rush to me at all to kind of like move. I mean, he's allowing some people going, you know, but yeah.
Really, I think it's a buyer's market, right? And Celtic are cash rich. So we have the funds there to acquire whatever we need to assume, right? Well, so let's talk about the signings that have come in already. While some people might be underwhelmed with the signings, I actually think they're really positive signings, real quality players who can come forward and show their quality and extend their profile and make Celtic lots of money. You know what I mean? For the price that we're bringing in, I think the recruitment team at Celtic are extending what they started under Ange Postecoglou, or at the beginning of Ange's tenure, really extending that and carrying it forward. So I think Brendan, being an elite level manager, allowed that to continue. Instead of coming in and just demanding control of everything, putting a halt to every transfer that was coming in, he allowed those transfers to proceed, and those quality young players and the quality players that we were bringing in to come in. Now, I also think he's going to be looking at what he feels we need to progress, because I remember one of his main remits when he came in was our progression in Europe. So I do think he's going to be looking and saying to himself, well, in Europe, like we highlighted earlier, like we spoke earlier, the goalkeeping and our goalkeeping option will be a major factor. And also the fact that we played in the Champions League last year, created over 80 chances and failed to finish those chances. Now, you're going to look at your squad and you're going to look like we're creating those chances. We are manufacturing 80 chances against elite level European competition. Now, where we faltered was finishing those chances. So I do also think we'll be looking at, well, I would love us to be looking at an elite level striker, someone with real prowess. And I know we have Kyogo, who has been fantastic and always very much given his shades of Sutton and John Hartson. Shades of, you know what I mean? I wouldn't say he's the complete article, the complete thing, but he's given his shades of that ability and shades of things to come maybe in the future. But I would still love to see us really go and acquire a striker who strikes fear into the heart of European defences. Someone who you maybe see other teams that we face doubling up on and leaving more space for whoever the other striking option is. So you maybe get, like we used to get with Larson all the time, you would get one of the reasons that Sutton and Hartson looked so good is because whenever Henrik got the ball, he was an instant goal-scoring threat. So you would find that European defences would double up on him. They would put 2 players on him, and that leaves more creative space for other players across the pitch, so they could revel in the space. So I would love for us to sign another striking option, a goalkeeper, definitely, because we can all see the glaring lacking ability of Joe Hart. Well, I think he does have real prowess and abilities. Maybe those years are slightly behind him, you know.
Sure they are.
Yes, he is still younger than me, I must say. You know what I mean? So,
But your reflexes
So
aren't what they used to be.
I did some
Kaiser.
research on him. Yeah, I went up because this debate's been going on in my WhatsApp groups, you know, family and then friend WhatsApp Celtic groups. You're all in them, and we were talking about it pre-season as well. So I did some reading on it, and actually stats not that bad, and not that bad for Celtic either. I think that
He's a good shot
fundamentally
stopper, man.
the problem. Yeah, I mean, I think fundamentally it's when he does these daft stuff, or there's a kind of slow reaction. And it's just when he does these crazy stuff that's like, if you remove that from his game, and if he could save penalties, obviously that would be help. But so actually,
there's only a couple
exactly.
there,
So we start going down. But
is he another Korean player? If enough, is he a keeping option? Bring him in.
On that bombshell, I think we should move on, gentlemen. As I mentioned earlier, we have a special guest here in David from Kuala Lumpur CSC. Is that a mistyping in your name box there, David? Did you mean to say KLCSC?
Oh, I'm too used to going to KLCC, which is just along the road and you can see it. So
that's what I was thinking.
Because if you want to get to us, you can see the KLCC from us.
All right. Well, you're going to tell us all about...
I'm too used to saying I'm going to see a customer in KLCC. It's
You're
literally along the road 10 minutes.
What is KLCC for the viewers?
It's Kuala Lumpur Convention Centre. It's where you see the 2 twin towers. So actually, everybody calls it KLCC, but it's actually Twin Towers. But everybody says KLCC, which is Convention Centre.
Okay. So as a way of introducing your little segment and what you're going to tell us, you've also provided a video so we can see what the Celtic boys in KL look like. So we're going to play that.
Oh, we're seeing that?
For you.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Fantastic scenes there.
Love it.
That's a great sight, wasn't it? The guys in the hoops on the motorbikes going through Kuala Lumpur.
Something so special about seeing a Celtic top all over the world, you know? Just amazing.
Fantastic.
It's amazing, yeah.
Okay, so David, take it away. Tell us all about your CSC.
Well, let's do a full link of that song. So that was a song that a band that I used to be in with Kev, whose bassist was a guy called Phil Rook, who was brother of Andy Rook in the Smiths. There you go. So we'll come back to that. So we started, I was actually in the Sean Maloney CSC, which was based in town, but everybody seemed to disappear. It fell apart. I didn't have the time to kind of set up, and I was traveling back to Penang where kids were at. But then I was in KL, and my missus was here, and she found this bar. And I was in Bangkok, and I got the name of this guy, Vince, who was kind of retiring. He's a young lad for retiring. But Vince, and so they put us in touch, and we had found this bar that you saw us in, which is a Venezuelan bar. So the guy on the bikes and all the rest of it, Venezuelan guys. And now we've got a Scottish guy and an Irish guy who now are jointly on the bar with him. So we set up there 2017, and we grew. We made a lot of time and effort. We had great artwork from Sebastian, who's an artist. And then COVID took it away from us, quite badly, because we are we had our expats obviously had to leave. Lots of businesses were affected, and we post COVID, the traffic of people coming through visiting from Australia and going to going to Australia, New Zealand, etc., kind of diminished greatly. However, we're coming back. We're seeing people coming through. We had a couple of people who were on their honeymoon. There's Vince there behind me. We had a couple of visitors in, and we've got 2 new members who have just moved here. So that's fantastic. Slowly and gradually, well, as me and the missus, slowly and gradually we will get back. We'll probably do more about advertising ourselves again, and making sure that people who come from anywhere in the world have a place to come and watch the game. We're only 15 minutes from the centre of town. You can come. We've had lots of people from other teams who can't see a game and we'll put on. So we're kind of very friendly. We don't push people away. And yeah, come and see us. We've got the Singtons. We've got a lot of allegiance with the Singtons, Bangkok CSC, and up to Seoul, obviously, as well, Dano. Singtons are going to come on tour, so we're looking forward to that. That's going to be an event. We do have merchandise. They'll send this out to anybody who's in the cold weather. Maybe that's for you guys, or I'll send you one of these jackets. We can't wear them here. And yeah, French CSC came into town, so we've got a big association with them. Steve wanted to come through and see us again. He's in Australia, he's in Sydney doing his sports broadcasting, but we're not going to see him. But yeah, you can see the level of artwork that we used to be able to get out. So I think we'll get back to that, and can't wait to have people come in.
Yeah.
As I'm sure we all know, this is a take on The Girl with the Pearl Earring by Johannes Vermeer. And this is Liberty Leading the People by Eugène Delacroix. Of course, Kaiser knew that. Liberty is the strong female character holding the flag aloft with exposed breasts. Yeah. And that's the same Liberty that holds the torch aloft over New York City. So imagine if the Statue of Liberty had tits out, how different the world might be.
It must be 20 degrees at least. Taps off.
That's what our friends in French CSC. But I nearly fell out with Steve when he came. There's another story. It is. He did this to me.
What's this story?
This was a Europe. So Steve works in sports broadcasting, and so he was in town, and we were watching a European game. It was late at night, so we were watching at the bar, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. So the game finished, we lost. He went upstairs with Sebastian, who runs a tattoo outfit up there. And I'm just still downstairs having a beer with a couple of others. And I'm like, he'd been away a long time. What's going on? He's been away a wee bit too long. And then he comes down with his arm in cellophane with a Celtic tattoo. Spelled wrong. For a start.
You know, if I'm having a bad day, that's one of my favorite things to do is look up other people's tattoo fails just to feel a little better about myself. That's brilliant.
So I had a meltdown, right? So I had to go into Steve's wife and everything. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I was meant to look after him. I'm so sorry. I'm meant to look after him. I was literally having a panic attack about this. And they faked it. It was a fake tattoo.
Oh, right. Just slapped the arm a couple of times to make it red.
They did everything. They got it all cellophaned up, right? Seriously, man. So, Steve, if I will watch this, we'll see you again, son.
Fall asleep drunk, you're going to get the real one.
Just throw shots down his
to
gullet.
Kuala Lumpur, Dano, or Kaiser. Have you been over this part of the world?
No, I never have. Never.
I've definitely been to that part of the world. I've been to Singapore. I've been to Bangkok and Thailand many times. That's like one of my and my wife's favorite destinations. But yeah, not Kuala Lumpur specifically. I had a lot of friends who were working down there. Some girls I knew up in Seoul, but.
I've seen the.
Well, if it syncs up with anybody coming down, come. You know, if the sing teams, everybody are on tour, I'll let everybody know. Celtic World will be the first to be able to broadcast that activity, and everybody will know. So
I've seen
visit.
The Lady Boys of Bangkok on tour. They were actually in Glasgow, so I went to see that with my partner. You know, Love
Mind
it.
blowing, right?
Fantastic. Some of the most
Naturally.
gorgeous men I've ever seen in my life.
Mind blowing. Yeah, the Ladybug
Yes.
shows are.
As long as
crazy,
it's
man.
only your mind that gets blown. That's all I'm
Yeah,
saying.
well, yes. Yes.
Yeah. Well,
All right.
I'm with the wife. You know, I mean, I'm not
True.
not doing
I
that.
was with the
Before
wife as well.
before we stray into too dodgy territory, I think we could maybe move on to some of your social recommendations of the week. Social media recommendations of the week. I haven't had one from you, Kaiser, because you were a bit late getting in. If you want to stick it in the private chat, I can add it. But
Phrasing.
what's that?
Phrasing. Come on, guys,
Phrasing?
stick it in. Come on,
Yeah.
ladies.
Oh, come on, gentlemen, please. Bit of decorum.
No, it's the fact
Okay.
that Kaiser was on time. I'm going to tell anybody coming on, be
Hey,
on
David
time,
laughed
and be 5
first.
minutes early.
What's
Right,
going
go.
on with this thing? Why does this not add immediately? Oh, there you go. Okay, so whose was this on Instagram? This was
Mine.
yours, David?
Yes, because for
Right.
any of us who live abroad, there's this guy who I've just found because I need to make my own Greg's stuff. I need to make my own lawn sausage. I need to make my own Scotch pies, etc. So this guy actually, if you look at his lawn sausage in particular, it's a tremendous recipe. His morning rolls, look at his morning rolls, are fantastic. That recipe works a treat. So if you don't have these things anywhere that you stay abroad and you can't get them, that's a really good recommend. And we will be serving Scotch pies at Sebastian. So you'll be getting Scotch pies if you come down and you've lived abroad. And that's fantastic as well. So yeah, I don't really know this guy, but I asked him a few questions and he responded immediately. He was really helpful. So, and he is in London and he's setting up a wee Scottish shop in London where if you're in London, you can go and get your iron brew, your pies, everything there as well. So might as well shout him out for that as well because he's very nice to answer all my questions that I needed.
Greg Boyd. That's his name.
I guess so. I didn't even, this was kind of like last week and the week before.
Great chieftain of the Puddin Race. Okay, so that's Old Hag on Instagram. So from Old Hag to Lord Wobbly on Twitter. Dano?
Oh yeah. Now, if you scroll up a little bit, you'll see the Lord Wobbly is replying to this. And this is McSoonis. Kilmarnock playing not to get beat while our Rangers team slowly finding its feet. Worryingly fitness on what is one of the worst football pitches in the world. Second half, Kilmarnock will be exhausted while Beale brings on some shrewd subs to win the game. Be very careful here.
Story of things that never happened.
Yeah, exactly. Our prognostication of the week. Now, speaking of that game, did anybody catch it on Sky and notice that Kenny Miller was doing the color commentary, the co-commentary on it?
No, I didn't actually watch them.
Oh my God. Not a single thing I saw on social media talking about Kenny Miller being on the broadcast was positive in any way. And one of the best comments I saw about that was Kenny Miller commentates like he's trying to defuse a bomb at the same time.
Under such pressure.
he literally sounds like that, like, okay, yeah, all right, here we're going. He's just going 100 miles a minute, no pauses, no breaths. Incredible, man. Incredible. But yeah, that prognostication from the first half from a Rangers fan was the brilliant moment of my social media week.
Okay, here's something I came across. This is a video shared by Lisbon Lion on Twitter. See if any Celtic historians, of which I'm definitely not one, can identify what's happening here. Well, featured.
I mean,
Well, that's definitely penalty Rangers.
Did anybody
And then
see
there's
that
this
a horse
this
named
little
Penalty
bitch.
to Rangers came in second place in a race in Canada
Oh, really?
last week?
That's
What
at
a
Hampden,
pass,
right?
what a chance, what a goal.
That looks like Hampden.
Does that ring any bells to anyone?
Definitely looking late
1975,
70s,
76,
early 80s.
something like that. Right, it looks like it.
75
Kenny Dalglish is
Glasgow
still there,
Cup.
left in 77. So
Yeah.
75 Glasgow Cup. There you go.
Who's the
Got it
goal
down.
scoring hero?
Well,
You know?
obviously that Rangers defender. No, I mean,
So that was Sandy Jordan.
Somebody picked it in.
Who
Yeah.
did that?
Sandy Shaw.
Paul Wilson, who was multi-ethnic. His mother, I think, was Indian, but was described as Dutch Portuguese, and he was raised in India, suffered loads of racist abuse, and was the only non-white player to represent Scotland in the 20th century.
Huh.
But obviously a player with loads of skill. That was a great second goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, he completely made the defense look idiotic, including the keeper comes out and just goes into no man's land. You know,
It's the keeper then, Tam.
what players they had back then, man. Mid-70s, like before Dalglish left. I mean, the young players Jock Steen brought up. Unbelievable.
Speaking of mid-70s, check this out.
This is actually an image that Miksunes, you seen the guy replying to a tweet from Miksunes? He actually made this image of me because I took my ball and I went to the front of Ibrox Stadium and I had Ange Postecoglou sign it. So he made this image of me and I sort of attempt to troll me, putting my face on Buffalo Bill and giving him the ball.
Buffalo Bill, yeah.
And I was
Guys,
like,
no way. I actually saw this. I saw this.
Yeah, he rubs the Huntiers on his skin, or he gets the hose again. You know, I actually loved it. I actually used it as my profile picture on Twitter for a while as well. So I firmly adopted his critique and ran with it. Thank you very much.
Very good. I saw that video of you down with Ange saying like 10 million a year for 10-year Ange.
10 million a year, 10 years. I believe that's the deal he got at Tottenham. I think they must have seen the video as well and came in and stole him away with the same offer. Not 10 years, not 4 years, but roughly around 10 million a year.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's a little less than that, but yeah.
All right, gents. Well, look, I can't believe it, but we're at the 50-minute mark and everything seems to have gone rather well. So let's celebrate that fact.
Something has to give, right? I mean, either one of our feeds are going to blow up or something's got to happen.
Right,
here, right?
I forgot to press live or something. Go live.
I actually received a delivery. I had to go and answer the door, so I'm sorry for that.
Sorry about my alarm going off, but those are pretty minor things.
Yeah.
These things happen. Now, I don't know what's happening on Thursday. Thursday, we were due to have Sing Tims on, that David mentioned earlier, the Singapore CSC, although there may be a little issue there. We'll have to see what happens. But whatever happens, it's going to be another fun show. That's it for today. Thank you all for being here today. David, thank you.
You're very welcome. It was fun.
Dano, as always, our Chicago boy in Korea. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Gav, man.
And Kaiser from Behind Enemy Lines. Great to see you.
Thank you for having me, legend. Hail, hail. Hail, hail, everyone watching. Thank you for being here.
Wasn't one of the Lisbon Lions from around Ibrox too? I think Jim Craig grew up around there. Maybe.
I actually went to a Celtic event recently to meet Jim Craig. He went to St Anthony's. Yeah, he was from Govan, just along the road, like maybe half a mile along the road from Ibrox. So yes, very much so. A legend, a real legend. I met him in person. He killed himself laughing at me. He actually autographed the picture you see behind me, the Lisbon Lions squad picture. I got an autograph from Jim Craig and stuff. But amazing stories, an amazing event.
Yeah.
Well, amazing is the key word of today. And this show has been amazing, and you guys have been amazing. So that's it for today. Thank you all, and thanks to the viewer for being part of A Celtic World.